there is a beautiful story about a wonderful event just a few days before the crucifixion. You read about in John chapter 12. Christ is invited to a party because Lazarus has been raised from the dead. He's in the house of Simon the leper, whom he's cured. But Mary and Martha and Lazarus and the disciples are all there. It's a type of the wedding feast of Christ discussed in Revelation 19 after the second coming. If we belong to Christ, we'll be there. But something happened. Mary of Bethany took a pint of pure nard, broke the alabaster box, and poured the ointment on the head and the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet and head with her hair. A woman's glory, says Proverbs, is her hair. Everything is going wonderfully. People are amazed at the generosity, the love of this woman. But then there's a jarring note. Judas is there. He says, to what purpose is this waste? The ointment could have been sold and the money given to the poor. Not that he cared about the poor. He had the bag and he was a thief. But this is a very important story. It's telling us of the maturing of love on the part of Christ's followers, epitomised by the alabaster box of expensive perfume broken and poured on his head and feet to prepare him for burial. The maturing of love shown in Mary, and the maturing of hate shown in Judas Iscariot. My dear friends, that's the way it will be at the end of the world. Christ's little flock will have matured in understanding of the gospel. They know they've been forgiven their sins. They're aware that even their infirmities and failures are not counted against them, for the cross dealt with all sin, past, present and future. So at the end of the world, God will have a little flock. I call them little. There'll be millions, but compared to the rest of the world, they'll be a little flock. And they are mature in love, mature enough to resist Antichrist, mature enough, many of them, to die for Christ. But then there'll be a maturing of hatred. The last Antichrist, the union of apostate religion and apostate government, the last Antichrist, will threaten with death all those that don't receive the mark of the beast. You know, through these chapters of Revelation 12 and 13, the word worship is common. And worship literally in the Greek means the kiss of the hand. This chapter is talking about false worship. And when Judas kissed Jesus as a sign to his captors, he was typifying the end of the world, when the mark of the beast will be the sign of false worship. It says the sign will be in the forehead and in the hand. If you read Deuteronomy and Leviticus, God's people were told to write his law on their foreheads, put the law in their hands. So faithful Jews had phylacteries, little leather boxes with the writing of the law inside them. They tied these to the forehead and the hand. So when in the Antichrist chapter you read that the mark of the beast is on the forehead or the hand, we know it's talking about a false law, a false gospel, false religion of Antichrist. So the story of Mary tells us at the end of time there'll be a growing up, a maturity of love and hate. Love will be the church tiny in numbers compared with the world. Hate will be Antichrist. Now I ask you, my dear friend, which company will you and I be in? You know, there's nothing more useful than a broken heart. Mary had a broken heart. Christ had forgiven her many sins. She loved him, and only those that love him can serve him. And the only ones that really love him are the ones who are conscious of their sinfulness and the wonder of the love of Christ that can atone for what we are and for what we've done. And so, dear friend, we draw near now to the end of the world. Our world is very sick. Nature is giving us warnings in climate change. Every news account is full of bad news. We are nearing the end of all things. And even if we don't live to the coming of Christ, 70 years and 10 is often a typical figure of life. And 1 in 5 people die from an accident. So you can't even count on living to 70. 1 in 5 die of an accident. But if you're a Christian with a broken heart, broken by the love of God, you're ready for death. It's only a sleep. Next conscious thought be the face of Christ, the resurrection and glory. We've been talking about Antichrist. Anyone who's self-centered is an Antichrist. Anyone who fails to love is a miniature Antichrist. But if, like Mary, we can love. And please notice, Judas thought it was a waste. But the atonement of Christ is so huge, so wonderful, so magnificent. It is for everybody. Whosoever will may come. Calvin was wrong when he taught predestination. He reflected the thinking of those who said Christ only dies for those who will be saved. A limited atonement. No, 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 no. The unbeliever may say, to what purpose is this waste about the cross of Christ? But those that know that God is love, that he's kind to the unthankful and to the evil, will know he died for all the world. He so loved the world. He's an atonement for our sins, not ours only, but for the sins of the whole world. 1 John verse 2. Not willing that any should perish, but all should come to a knowledge of the truth. Dear friend, let us look to Christ. Let us look to the cross. We don't want outward crosses. We want one inward. We want self-crucified. We want Christ as King of our lives. Make him such. And ahead for you is glory. God bless you.